B'Shem Hashem Na'aseh v'Natzliach, Shiur Torah, good to be in Aventura, Chag Sameach, Rosh Chodesh Tov. We are in the last night of Hanukkah. It's been another amazing holiday, Baruch Hashem. Light the candles if you took an opportunity to learn about Hanukkah, before the Chag, after the Chag, some of the shiurim we had. We see that this holiday is very different than most children are taught today. You know, most children, whether they're secular or religious, Jews, non-Jews, Hanukkah is taught as almost like a custom, a nice thing to do, a fun holiday, which it is all of those things, but it's also some of the biggest chachamim that ever lived, some of the biggest sages that ever lived, actually called it the holiest of all holidays. And the reason why is because Hanukkah is when we fought for Judaism, more so than any other holiday in history. You know, on Pesach, we commemorate pretty much the beginning of Am Yisrael as a nation, with the Exodus. With Shavuot, we celebrate when we officially united and received the Torah and became a nation. On Sukkot, we celebrate all of this. We celebrate being a nation. We celebrate getting the Torah. We also commemorate what used to happen during the times of the Bet HaMikdash, where Am Yisrael would bring 70 korbanot, 70 sacrifices, each representing one of the nations for their merit. Where the sages say that it brought so much good to the other nations that had they known how much good Am Yisrael is for them, and how good these sacrifices that they're bringing during Sukkot are for them, for these other nations that may hate us, that may be anti-Semites, that may hate Judaism, may hate the Torah, may hate everything about us. If those very same Nazis knew how good we are to them, they would have actually, instead of sending their armies to attack us, they would send their armies to save us. They would send their armies to protect us. So in Sukkot, we also celebrate that. During Rosh Hashanah, it's our Judgment Day. It's our Judgment Day. Judgment Day where every Jew has to repent, has to, in essence, has a final opportunity to repent for the sins that he made throughout the year. But in essence, it's the day that Hashem decides what he's going to do with him. Do the accounting, the cheshbon, of what he's done throughout the year. Chachamim ask, why is it that Hashem does this? Why does Hashem make us pay a bill, if you will, once a year, and then give us an opportunity to appeal it 10 days later? If there was a bad judgment, Chash v'Shalom, on Rosh Hashanah, 10 days later we have an opportunity to appeal it on Yom Kippur, and then even the final judgment is until Hoshana Rabbah. So why even bother? It's because Hashem doesn't want to have us show up to Shamayim showing us the bill, all the things that we've charged to the card throughout our 70, 80, 90 years, and show us, listen, look, this is what you charge. You bought a steak, you bought a car, you bought a house, you bought a this, you bought a this, all the sins we've made. And you're going to show us on a video that we did it. So we're not going to be able to deny it. We're not going to be able to say, oh, no, I didn't do it. We're going to say, okay, yeah, you're right. Right, I did all of that. You're right, I did all of those things. You're right. But why don't you come I can't pay for it now. I don't have the money. I don't have the mitzvot. I don't have the merit. I don't have the Torah to pay for it now. Why don't you come to me earlier? So now, when you have Rosh Hashanah, you have an opportunity to pay for it each year. Possibility to do tshuva each year. Start all over, fresh, clean, each year, if you do it right. But as you can see from all of these holidays, then we have Purim. Purim, where the miracle, Am Yisrael made a few mistakes. Hashem rebuked them to such an extent where they were literally on the border of annihilation. They did tshuva, they fasted, And Hashem changed nature. Changed nature. Instead of them getting killed and flesh and blood being spilled, they got saved. And they actually were able to hurt the enemy. But again, even that holiday in Purim, we're not necessarily fighting for Judaism. We're fighting for our lives, this world life. All of the other holidays are not necessarily fighting for Judaism. We're fighting for each of our personal lives. We're each fighting, we're commemorating that we started, we're commemorating the Torah, we're commemorating a lot of different things, but we're not fighting for anything. Hanukkah, the Chachamim say, Hanukkah is the one time we actually fought for Judaism, and we won. Which part of Judaism? The religious part. The religious part of Judaism was under threat. The Greeks didn't want to kill us physically, like the Romans did, like the Babylonians did, like the Turks, like the Spaniards, like the Nazis, like even back at this week's parasha, the Egyptians, even at the time that Yosef Tzaddik was king or viceroy, they still hated Jews. They still hated the Israelites. They wouldn't eat, it says in last week's parasha, they wouldn't eat next to his brothers because they despised them. They considered the Israelites an abomination. So even then they hated us. And then Paro, you fast forward a few hundred years, you fast forward, he starts this whole Holocaust, starts killing a bunch of Jews. But again, he wasn't interested in killing Judaism. He was interested in just killing Jews. Or making them slaves. The Greeks were not interested in killing Jews. The Greeks were interested in killing Judaism. And that's what we fought for. Now, although in the Rav Hutner's Pachad Yitzchak, which I've mentioned several times in the last couple of weeks, he says, although Hanukkah is described in the Gemara as a Yom Tov, it's not really a Yom Tov like other Yom Tovs are. Meaning, when you have Yom Kippur, it's considered a Yom Tov. One of the main things that we know is we are not allowed to work on Yom Tov. Yom Tov is the same thing as Shabbat with a minor exception, cooking. We're able to cook. But Hanukkah is considered a Yom Tov in the Gemara, but it's not really Yom Tov. You're allowed to work. So why? Why is it? What's the significance of Hanukkah? Hanukkah is a very spiritual holiday. We're celebrating that the Torah won. Excuse me. Why are we celebrating it as a Yom Tov? It's a significant holiday. It's not like a min'ag. It's not a custom where some Jews celebrate, some Jews don't. Where you don't have to do it if you don't feel like it. You know, there are some, we have a handful of mandatory fasts throughout the year. Mandatory, where everyone has to fast. And there's a couple of fasts you don't have to do. You should, but you don't have to. There's more leniency in them. There are some holidays that are Yom Tov, and there's some that are more like customary. Little holidays, like it's not really a holiday. It's like a custom that we have as part of our tradition. It's a good thing to do. You don't have to do anything, though. This is not one of those. This is Yom Tov. This is mamash 100% Chag. But there's an exception. You don't have to work. You could work, not work, do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. So what's the Yom Tov about it? Rav Hutner Alav Shalom says the Yom Tov aspect of Hanukkah is the fact that we celebrate the victory of intellect. Spiritual intellect. Now this may not seem like a big deal to you at this point. You may think that, what do you mean? What's so special about being intellect? What's so okay? So what? Jews are smart. Good job. Everyone knows you're smart. You don't have to brag about it. Just look at the Nobel Prize winners. Statistically speaking, per capita, more Jews have won than any other nation, including America. per capita. If you look at some of the people that have made major discoveries, if you look at some of the people that are running major corporations, major scientists, major this, major that, you see there's a lot of really, really smart Jewish people. But that's not what we're smart. That's not what we're celebrating. We're actually celebrating divine intellect. We're celebrating the ones that are Talmidei Chachamim. We're celebrating that they won. We're celebrating the fact that the common sense of the Torah survived. Because if it wasn't for the common sense of the Torah, there would really be no reason for Hashem to continue this world. Now, in regards to Talmidei Chachamim, in regards to Am Yisrael as a whole, most people would think that we would have a much better, happier nation, holier nation, during good times. Like the times of the Beit HaMikdash. When we had the Beit HaMikdash, you would think we had more sages during that time, more Chachamim during that time. Naturally, it makes more sense. Nobody's trying to kill you. You're the leader. You're the king of the world. You're everything. You got money. You got power. Everything is good. You have Beit HaMikdash. You see miracles day and night. You don't have to go to Shil Torah and look for proofs. You want proofs, go to Beit HaMikdash, you start seeing things flying in the air. I mean, it's not miracles every day. Your everyday life is miraculous. There's no proofs needed. But the Chachamim say, on the verse by the prophet Isaiah, chapter 54, verse 1, where he says the deserted wife will have more children than the married wife. Meaning that the ruined Israel, the destroyed Israel, the ones that got beat up after the Beit HaMikdash, the exiled Israel, is going to have much more children than the married wife, than Israel that's restored and happy during the times of the temple. What are these children? The Chachamim explain, the sages explain, that the children of those who were born during the tragic times were far greater in stature, as far as Torah is concerned, than the ones that were born during a peaceful time. In the Gemara Masechet Megillah, page 11a, it says there were in so many words, there were many more tzaddikim, righteous people of stature that emerged during the times of the exile than they did during the times where everything was wonderful. Why? We learn that this is our nature. This is our nature. This is one of the things that Hashem Yitbarach told Moshe Rabbeinu, warn the people not to forget me. They get rich, they say, Kochi ve'otzim yadi, I did it. They do well, they forget God. This is repeated by Shlomo Melech. Shlomo Melech says to Am Yisrael, don't forget God. You have money, you're going to forget God. Be successful, notoriety, fame, fortune, and so on, you're going to forget God. And that's why there's a mitzvah out of the 613 mitzvot, that it's really a busha, it's really an embarrassment for Am Yisrael, that Hashem actually has to remind us of this. But this is our Yetzirah, of course. Is actually a mitzvah in our 613 mitzvot, not to forget God. As a matter of fact, there's an obligation. It's an obligation that you're supposed to do it every day in the morning. All the guys that go to pray in the morning, shachrit, and women should do it every day at some point, to do something called the 10 remembrances. 10 things that you're supposed to remember. 10 things. 10. There's 10 remembrances. There's 6 things. There's 6 things you're talking about something else. It's similar, but it's not the same. Right, there's 6 things, but this is 10 remembrances. 2 different things. They're similar, though. But the 10 remembrances are as such. Yetziat Mitzrayim. You must remember Egypt. Why? Remember where you came from. Remember, you used to be a slave. You were nothing. They were beating you up. They were killing babies. They were taking their blood, making a bath out of it. You remember all that stuff? Hashem destroyed the biggest civilization in the world. The ones that you thought were your friends initially, because you're Shefa Tzaddik, Pashat Shavua. such a voice said Yosef HaTzadik was the leader. He made them rich. They loved him. They worshipped him. They made him into a god. Remember, that's the America of their day. You made them rich, and then what? They made you into a slave. So remember Egypt? You remember that stuff? They made you a slave? Okay, remember. Don't trust any Adam. Don't trust any man. No one. Why? Tomorrow he may not be here. That's why in a couple of weeks we're going to see Sefer Shmot. It says, and now a Paro was born who didn't remember Yosef. What do you mean didn't remember Yosef? What, you forgot? Remember, remind them. There's 500 million people in Egypt. 500 million people. One of them remembers. Why? He just died last week. He just died last week. Hey, Paro, hey. You remember Yosef? I had the pictures all over the walls. Yosef HaTzadik, Yosef HaTzadik, everybody, every house has a picture. Yosef HaTzadik. Why? He made us rich. We were nothing. He made us rich. Yosef HaTzadik. Remember him? What do you mean? Paro woke up and didn't remember him. Says, you didn't remember him on purpose. Why? Get him out of my face. Why? I don't like him anymore. Why? He's dead. I don't have to pay him any honor. I don't have to pay him any honor. He's some Jew. He did nothing. It's not really him. It was our money that made the money. It was always them that made them. We just gave him a job. We gave him an opportunity. Look, he took advantage. He took all of our money. He took all of our jobs. He took all of our careers. He turned the whole story upside down. So the America of their day, Egypt, Hashem says you must remember it. Why? You like him today, everything is fine. They said, oh, capital of Israel is Yerushalayim. Baruch Hashem. Thank you. Thank you for giving us permission to have Yerushalayim as the capital. Baruch Hashem for you. Everyone is sending letters. Wow, look at this, amazing. Thank you very much for telling us what we knew for already 3,000 years. Thank you. So much kavod, so many articles written, so many things. What is this, a joke? This mitzvah, first number one, says, remember Mitzrayim. Not just the slavery part. What happened before? 2, Shabbat. Shabbat. You got the mitzvah of Shabbat before you even got to Mount Sinai. Why? That's the deal breaker. You keep Shabbat, Chazak u'Baruch. You have a share in the world to come. You don't, nothing you can do is going to save you. You can keep 612 out of the 613 mitzvot somehow, some way. You're a Kohen, you're a woman, you're a man, you're everything. You found a way, you found a loophole to keep all of the mitzvot except Shabbat. Alach alecha. Doesn't make a difference. Goes to the garbage. Why? You get paid in this world, you have no olam haba. Remember Shabbat. It's a big deal. That's number 2. Man. Remember the man. What's remember the man? I don't have any man. You have any man in the house? I'm telling you, I study Torah, I try all night, all day, I sleep, I wake, I tried all the time. No man coming down. No man coming down. What do you say remember the man? I don't remember the man. What do you say remember the man? Remember that Hashem's the one that pays the bills. Your parnasah is from Shamayim the same way that the man came from Shamayim. Same way that the man came from Shamayim 3,300 years ago, your parnasah comes from Shamayim. So whether you work until 11 o'clock at night, or 11 o'clock in the afternoon, or you work 6 days, or 7 days, or 9 days, or 2 days, or 1 day, your parnasah, regardless, is coming from Shamayim. If you don't believe it, you are a kofer b'Torah. If you think you're making your money, you're a kofer gamur. You have a problem. You have a serious problem. It's not an emunah issue. It's a problem with your foundational beliefs in Judaism. Why? Because parnasah is from Shamayim. You think the parnasah comes from your koach, from your things. You have a problem. That's 2. That's 3. 4. Amalek. Maaseh Amalek. What's Amalek? Amalek was created to destroy you. Amalek and the word safek, which means doubt, have the same numerical value in Gematria. The same numerical value in Gematria. Now, Amalek is alive and well in body, like the Nazis in Yimach Shemam V'Zichram, but also in words. Sometimes you can have a shiur Torah, and you're learning, you're there an hour, 2 hours, if you're my shiur, 3 hours, everything is good, wow, everything is fantastic, amazing, you just are alive, you did tshuva, everything is great, Baruch Hashem, everything. You leave the shiur, you leave 5 seconds of the shiur, or you see a comment on the internet from one of these keyboard warriors, or somebody that didn't come to the shiur. Oh, you went to, what, Yaron, that guy, oh, really? I heard, you know what I heard? You start making up things. I heard, start making up things. All of a sudden, what happens? Oh, wait a minute. If what he says is true, then maybe everything else is not true. Maybe there's, what? He put just one poisonous seed in your mind. One point. He didn't have to say a whole shiur for 3 hours to go against the 3 hours. 1 second. Hey, thanks for listening. Bye. That's it. He didn't say nothing. Oh, you went to him. Oh, okay. That guy? Made it, you didn't say nothing. He said, That's where the Chafetz Chaim says this is a sur from the Torah to ever say anything other than a compliment about someone that teaches Torah. Even if all you have is negative things, even if he came, taught Torah, and nothing came out of his mouth, all shtiyot, all nonsense. It wasn't against the Torah, but nothing entertaining, nothing really of intellect, nothing really of chidushi, nothing. Mamash, he came there, he said to you guys, Hashem took us out of Egypt for 5 hours in a row. That's it. That's all he said. Hashem took us out of Egypt. You are not allowed, Chafetz Chaim says, Lashon hara, for you to go and say somebody else. Hey, by the way, boring shiur. 5 hours, he says, Hashem took us out of Egypt. It's Isur from the Torah. What's Isur from the Torah? What does it mean, Isur from the Torah? What does it mean it's not allowed in the Torah? Rambam says, no olam haba. Ad kedei kach. Why? You destroyed neshamot. Someone that maybe got a chizuk out of that shiur, or maybe will get a chizuk from it last week or next week, now you just ruined all of it. Why? You would put a little poison. It doesn't have to be a lot of poison to be Amalek. You can have, like those huge barrels they have, like they put water in different cities and so on, as giant barrels. Somebody's put just a little bit, so tiny, not even 1%, 1% of 1% of poison in that water, the whole water's gone. Everything, anyone drinks it, dies. That's it. That's Amalek. That's Amalek. You don't have to say much. You ruin everything. Next one, Ma'amad al-Sinai. Ma'amad al-Sinai is the fifth one. He says, remember Ma'amad al-Sinai. Why do I need to remember Ma'amad al-Sinai? Why do I have to remember Mount Sinai? Because you were there. You may not remember it, but you were right next to me. You're pushing me, I remember. You were there. What does it mean you were there? Your neshama was there. So what? Your neshama was there. That means when you get up to Shamayim, you can't say, I didn't know. What do you mean you didn't know? You think Hashem, the creator of all creation, the king of kings, Hashem Yitbarach, that loves you, is going to put you into a world and you don't know anything? Nothing? You're like a golem? Nothing? You're a little Play-Doh? Just a piece of Play-Doh, you know nothing? You never had an opportunity to do tshuva? You never had an opportunity to ask yourself, what's the truth? What's fake? Why did I come to this world? Nothing? You're just a golem? Nothing? Said, you were in Mount Sinai. You were in Mount Sinai, of course you knew. You may not remember the day you were in Mount Sinai because it was 3,000 years ago. It's a long time ago. But your neshama remembers. At some points during your life, you're going to constantly be reminded. There's going to be doubts. Am I doing right? Am I doing wrong? Should I marry this woman? Should I marry this guy? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I steal? You're always asking yourself. Why do you think you're asking yourself? No one taught you in grade school about marriage. No one taught you in grade school whether to waste seed or not. But if you go to a Jewish crowd, doesn't matter if they're soldiers in the army, doesn't matter it's in the kibbutz, doesn't matter it's in America, doesn't matter it's in Guam, doesn't matter it's in Africa, you tell people, ladies and gentlemen, what do you know about wasting seed? Everyone knows it's asur. They don't know why it's asur. You go to Goyim, you go to non-Jews, ladies and gentlemen, what do you know about wasting seed? Everyone knows it's asur. They don't know why. They never read anything about it. As a matter of fact, this is the first time in their life they actually heard the term, but they automatically know what it means. No one in their right mind thinks that wasting seed is taking a bunch of seeds for sesame seeds and throwing them on the ground. No one thinks that. No one thinks it's taking little pistachios and throwing it in the air or something. No one thinks that. No one thinks that it's watermelon seeds. No one thinks like that. Everyone knows exactly what I mean when I say, what do you think of wasting seed? Why? You were Mount Sinai. You were Mount Sinai. You cannot deny it. Next. That our holy fathers, Am Yisrael, Dor HaDe'ah, despite having miracles after miracles after miracle after miracle after miracle, day and night. There was not a day that passed without a miracle. But I'm not talking about a miracle like we see miracles. Miracle, you didn't have a flat tire. Miracle, you got on time to the appointment even though you were an hour behind. Miracle that your wife still likes you. Miracle that your husband wanted to marry you. Miracle that the kids are still home. All types. I'm not talking about like that. I'm talking about miracles in Shamayim. You're seeing crazy things. Miracles. Despite all of that, Am Yisrael still went against Hashem. Still had a golden calf. What is this reminder? Reminder is miracles for all of those people that say, why doesn't Hashem just show himself? Why doesn't Hashem just show himself to all of us and eliminate all doubt? Why doesn't Hashem show us, hey, Ani Hashem Elokechem, in the sky, just write something. Write God. Everyone knows where it came from. Or just say something, scare us to death. Say, hey, I'm God, that's it, finished. Everyone's going to believe in God. There's not going to be an atheist in the world. Hashem says, not possible. Why? Look, the ones that saw miracles nonstop. Still at some point, the miracles did not help them do tshuva. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara continues to work. Unless the Yetzer Hara Tov works, Yetzer Hara wins. Unless you continue learning Torah, continue getting glued to Hashem, continue working on yourself, on your midot, your character traits, and everything else, it's all going to fall apart. All the miracles you had are going to become a distant memory. How many of you have books, notebooks, that you wrote down all the miracles that happened in your life? I won't embarrass you and ask you to raise your hands. How many of you have a memory, just a memory of all the miracles that you ever had in your life? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand. How many of you remember how many miracles you had today? Not yesterday, not last week, not your whole life, just today. Even that you have to think about. Why? Miracles don't help people do tshuva. Miracles just open the door. Come in, son. Come in, daughter. Come. Come. What keeps you in? Torah. So stop asking the silly question of why doesn't Hashem appear? Next. That there were always going to be some leaders out there that are going to go against the nation. But only we can beat ourselves. Bil'am, a Rasha, was a prophet that had one power that even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't have. He knew the moment, the rega, that Hashem would punish the world. The moment. It's a rega. Some of the Chachamim say this is 1 out of 15,000 of a second. That's the rega. Whatever it is, the Gemara in a couple of places, in Brachot and in Megillah. You know, that gave him power that if he utilized that moment, that rega, he'd ask Hashem to do whatever he wants, he'd do it. He tried cursing Am Yisrael during that moment, Hashem said no. Balak had cash. He said, Bilam, you curse them, you destroy them, I'll pay you anything you want. $1 billion? No problem. Where do you want me to make your check payable to? Cash? No problem, with diamonds too. Whatever you want, I have cash. Donald Trump was like an employee for him. Balak had a lot of money. He said, I'll pay whatever you want, just destroy these people. But what really destroyed us? What nearly destroyed the entire nation? You go to Parashat Balak at the end. After all of the trials that Balak and Bilam tried, cursing us several times, 3 times. Nothing worked. What nearly destroyed us? Immodesty. Immodesty. Bilam told him, listen, the curse is not working. Why? God of Israel, he runs the show. It doesn't matter what I do. He wants to curse, he curses. He's not like a genie. He wants to curse, he curses. Doesn't want to curse, he curses. What do you think? He's like us? He changed his mind. He said he's blessing them. He's blessing them. But I do know something about him. What do I know? Elokem sonezima. Their God hates immodesty. You sent your immodest girls to them. They go with them. He'll destroy them without you asking. Why? It's disgusting to him. An immodest act is disgusting to Hashem. Why? Because it eliminates the separation between man and animal. What's the difference between man and animal? You can't tell me it's the fact that you're able to speak. Maybe the cow can speak, you just don't understand. You can't tell me it's because I can pray. Maybe the cow is praying and you don't know. As a matter of fact, the Gemara says they do pray every day. What do you think? The frogs are in this world not praying to Hashem every day? They quack, quack, quack. They quack into Hashem. Gemara says several stories about how they're praying to Hashem. What are you saying they're not praying? What are you saying? Because what? You have a mortgage? They don't need a mortgage. They can live anywhere they want. They live better than you. They have no stress. You have stress all the time. What is it? Because you get married? They get married to as many people as they want, as many animals as they want. Every day is a new wife. Every day a new husband. What separates you? What makes you better? What makes you better than an animal? Than a parah? One of these animals we're going to make kosher steaks out of. What? What makes you different? Why are we putting you there? Chopping you up into little kosher steaks. Why? What's the difference? Difference is you have free choice. They work off of instinct. They work off of instinct and you have free choice. What's the free choice? You don't have free choice of whether you're tall or short. You don't have free choice of whether you live or die. You don't have free choice of whether you're born black, white, yellow, green, or any other color in between. What's your free choice? Your free choice is whether you're going to fear God or not. Your free choice is whether you're going to obey what God said or not. So now, God said, there's a few things that I am disgusted by. One of them is immodesty, promiscuity. Whether it's with the same sex, opposite sex, irrelevant. Point is, it's disgusting in the eyes of Hashem. Anything connected to it, anything around it, to such an extent that even the Rasha prophet, the wicked prophet Bilam, had the opportunity to curse us, it didn't work. What worked? He sent a bunch of prostitutes to us. Am Yisrael sinned with them, and Hashem started killing us by the second. 24,000 died in a matter of seconds. Not weeks, not months, not days, not even hours. Seconds. Seconds. What the Chachamim say was to such an extent that had Pinchas not done what it done, within a few more seconds, all of Am Yisrael would have died. There would be no us. No conversion, no tshuva, no Am Yisrael, nothing. Zero. No Moshe Rabbeinu, nothing. Not like the Chet HaEgel, where we sinned with the golden calf and he came to Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe, listen, let me just destroy them. And I'll start a new nation from you. No, he didn't say this. He didn't even warn us. That's how much he hates immodesty. That's how much he hates promiscuity. That's how much he hates intermarriage. That's how much. You ask how much? That's how much. You have to remember this every day. It's number 7. Number 8. Maaseh Miriam HaNeviah. Miriam was a prophet. Miriam was a prophet, the sister of Moshe Rabbeinu. Not like the foolish Arabs in their Quran, they write that Miriam was the mother of J.C. Penney, who lived 1,000 years before the guy. Miriam was a prophet, Kodesh Kodeshim. As a matter of fact, there's a story in the Gemara about Miriam that make you understand how important it is to listen to rebuke regardless of where it comes from. Miriam was 6 years old. 5 years old, actually, at the time. 5 years old, Miriam. She sees her father, Amram. Amram's Gdol Ador. Kodesh Kodeshim. How Kodesh? How holy is he? Gemara says only 4 people lived and died with never sinning. What never sinning? Never sinning like big things. Never chiled Shabbat. Never ate non-kosher. No. Never sinning, period. Ever. Nothing. On the way here, I think some of us sinned. Just on the way here. 1 second. Yeah, 4 people. Yes, he was allowed. He was allowed. This is before Matan Torah. And that's why after Matan Torah, one of the best proofs of the Torah is that Moshe Rabbeinu's parents, Amram and Yocheved, had to get divorced. They had to get divorced. That's one of the best proofs that the Torah is authentic. Why? If Moshe Rabbeinu wrote it out of his own free will, out of his own mind, why in his right mind would he go up to the mountain, come down from the mountain, hey, Abba, Ima, hey, by the way, I love you guys, we have to get divorced. At the very least, you say, Abba, Ima, since I'm the one that wrote the Torah, your grandfather then. You don't have to do anything. Don't worry about it. Chachamim say, first thing they have to do, Abba and Ima, you have to get divorced.
But Israel is already from the times of Noah.
Not the issue of marrying your aunt. That only came after Matan Torah. We also learn this from Yaakov Avinu, who married two sisters. Yaakov Avinu married two sisters. He's allowed at the time to marry two sisters because at the time we don't have Matan Torah. Even though they kept the laws, they kept them as Noahides and they kept them as far as what their limitations were. They didn't keep them like Am Yisrael kept them after Matan Torah. It didn't become official. Now, Amram comes to Am Yisrael and he tells them, listen, this Paro Rasha, he's killing us. Every boy that's born, he's killing us. Every boy, misken, what the boy do? He's just born. He didn't even do anything. He didn't even like curse him out, nothing. He didn't even have a chance to do anything yet. Already killing them. So why are we going to bother having kids? Carry the baby, 9 months, misken. And then, you know, the Chachamim say that one of the miracles that made Am Yisrael greater than Egypt, that made the Egyptians decide to only kill the boys, but not the girls. If they want to destroy us, kill the girls too. Says, no, no, no. We want to keep the girls. Why keep the girls? Because every birth was 6 kids. So he said, look, the Jewish women, the Israelites, they're great. Let's keep the women for ourselves. We can grow. Every time we're with them, 6 Egyptians, 6 Muhammads, 6 Mustafas, we're going to become 2 billion within a couple of generations. China. Or Mustafas today. So now, what happens? They start killing us, but they kill the boys only. So Amram says, what are we going to have this for? For what? We're going to carry the babies just to kill them? For what? Divorce is Yochevet. Miriam HaKdosha, 5 years old. Little, piccolo, tiny. Abba, you're a worse than Paro. What? Excuse me? You're worse than Paro, Abba. My daughter's only 2.5, Baruch Hashem. At 5 years old, she tells me I'm worse than Paro. I'm not giving her another chance. I'm not saying, hey, well, let me see why. Amram was Kodesh Kodashim. Amram gave her a chance. He goes, why? Why am I worse than Paro? He says, Paro is a Rasha. Paro's decree was to kill only the boys. Your decree to divorce the wives, to not have any more, any more kids, is killing the boys and the girls. Why? Because you're Gdol Ador. You got divorced to Ima. You're not going to have any more kids. Now everyone's going to follow you. Everyone's going to divorce their wives. So no kids at all. So no boys and no girls. Your decree is worse than Paro. Your decree is worse than Paro's. Why is it worse than Paro's? Paro is a Rasha. Paro is wicked. Meaning that maybe what he says happens, maybe he doesn't, because he's a Rasha. Hashem doesn't have to fulfill his will. You're tzaddik. If you say, Hashem does. Why? You're tzaddik. Mara says it. Masechet Shabbat, Masechet Gemara, a few places. So now, imagine. Gdol Ador, giant of giants, never sinned in his life, looks at a 5-year-old, just rebuked him. And she's right. Between you and me, you listen? I don't listen. I pretend like it didn't happen. I'm telling you, personally, I pretend like it doesn't happen. 5 years, what's she know? 5 years old. Next week, I'll find something else. I'll find a new excuse. So I'll pretend like it's my idea. 5 years old, I'm going to tell the whole world, they say, now I'm Israel, I made a mistake. My 5-year-old just rebuked me. That's what he did. That's what he did. Why? That's Ish Emet. That's a Ish Emet. That's why he's Gdol Ador. So Miriam had the intuition, had the nevuah, had the prophecy that this had to happen at 5 years old. And because of her, and because of how Amram responded, Moshe Rabbeinu was born. He married, she was a Shatchanit, she got $10,000. Shatchanit, $10,000. Abba, Ima, nice to meet each other, get married. Chuppah, Kiddushin all over again. Moshe Rabbeinu was born a year later. She's 6 years old, she has little Moshe Rabbeinu, little does everyone know. This little Moshe Rabbeinu is going to become big Moshe Rabbeinu, the prophet of all prophets. Why? Listen to rebuke of a 5 years old. So this very same Miriam, she sees everything. She leaves with us Egypt. She's in the desert with us. There's a whole river of fresh water following Am Yisrael for 40 years due to her merit. She dies, the river dies. It says Maaseh Miriam. What's Maaseh Miriam? What's Maaseh Miriam? What do we have to remember about Miriam? It says the one time she sinned. What she sinned? She just saved Am Yisrael. Yes, she sinned once. What she sinned? What she do? You remember? It says that she said something not so appropriate about Moshe Rabbeinu, her brother. She said Moshe, she was talking to Aaron. She's talking to one of the guys, she's talking to her brother. One of the other, she's not talking to the rest of the people. She's not making an announcement. She's talking to Aaron, someone who understands, another leader. Our brother, Moshe, he left his wife Tzipora. Why? Why does he think he's buried? Maybe he's a little gaftan. Maybe he's thinks of himself now because God speaks to him. Why? We're prophets also. Well, he's a prophet. We're prophets also. In her level, that was considered lashon hara. In her level, it was considered distasteful speech against the Gedol Hador. And Hashem came out from the heaven, and a bat kol came out and says, no, he's not a prophet like you. You're a prophet, yes, but not like Moshe Rabbeinu. And he punished her with tzarat. Tzarat is both a spiritual and a physical disease. Only cure is God. Doesn't matter what medicine you have. And when you have it, you have to, one of the cures is to do tshuva. The main thing you have to do is tshuva. How do you do tshuva? Bring embarrassment to yourself. First of all, they throw you out of the camp because you're going to infect other people. They throw you out of the camp so everyone knows you spoke about somebody else in a negative way to make others distance themselves from him or from her. So the actual punishment is for everyone to distance themselves from you. So first of all, everyone knows you are mirachel. You are a guy who speaks bad things about other people. Everyone knows you have a tongue that doesn't stop. Get out. That's first thing. That's first thing. Second thing is that when you're outside of the camp, no one's allowed to be next to you. And if someone doesn't know you have it, don't have it, they come, they're on their horse, they're on their camel, they're on their donkey, they're coming down. And you're over there in your little camp, outside of the camp. You're in your old little hut over there. And someone comes down the street. You have to come out and start screaming, no, tzarat, tzarat, meaning, I have tzarat. You have to tell people I have tzarat. You have to tell people, hey, it's like someone say, I have AIDS. Who wants to do that? You have to bring embarrassment to yourself. So now the Gemara Masechet Shabbat, page 66. Says, but that's only one tzarat. If you said tzarat once, we'd understand you're bringing embarrassment to yourself. Why are you saying tzarat twice? It's written twice. Say tzarat, tzarat. If it's once, if it's for embarrassment, say it once. Why is he saying it twice? He says the second time is to make them feel bad for you. Why? You make other people feel bad for you, they pray for you. They pray for you, they have more merits than you. B'ezrat Hashem, you have refuah shlema. Second time, make other people feel bad for you. Why? They pray for you. They pray for you. That's where we get one of the sources where you guys always see, so-and-so, bar minan, something happened, pray for them, teilim, this, that's the source. They say, why do we pray for people? Why do you pray for people? Why? You're now, technically, if something happened in some house or some place, you're not allowed to announce it to the world. If somebody just ruined their car, they're a bad driver, you start telling them, hey, by the way, Joe over there is a terrible driver. It's lashon hara. Not allowed to say it. But if you say, bar minan, Shem Rachem, Joe got into an accident, pray for him. It's not lashon hara. Why? You make other people feel bad for him. They pray for him. B'ezrat Hashem has refuah shlema. So, Miriam got tzarat. As holy as she was, she got tzarat. Why? She said if one thing, a little doubt. She had a little safek about Moshe Rabbeinu. So if Miriam can get tzarat, such a horrible, horrible disease, that Moshe Rabbeinu was the only one that was able to cure. He prayed for her one time, 5 words, finished. But the whole nation prayed for her, nothing happened. Moshe Rabbeinu said 5 words, finished, cured. Why? Doesn't matter how holy you are. Garbage comes out of your mouth, you have a sore mouth, there will be an outcome, a really bad one. Next one, which is the reason why we said this whole list for. ומצוות וזכרת את אדוני אלוהיך, כי הוא הנותן לך כוח לעשות חיל. to remember Hashem your God. To remember Hashem your God. This is a mitzvah in the Torah out of the 613 mitzvot from the Torah, 7 from Rabbanan, 620 total. One of those mitzvot from the Torah says, remember God. Why remember God? Because He's the one who gives you power to acquire wealth. He's the one that gives you power to do anything. If you think about it, logically, it's not logical to not remember God. It's illogical not to remember God. Why? Where do you think you came from? Where'd you come from? Nothing? You have to come from somewhere. The money just appear? What, you just came up with the idea on your own? Who created your brain? Who gave you eyes? Who gave you ears? Who gave everything? It's illogical to forget God. But nonetheless, we do it all the time. Nonetheless, we do it all the time. And the reason why is because we turn ourselves, Hashem Elachem, into our own gods. We give ourselves the credit. I'm the one that thought of this new invention. I'm the one that picked this investment. I'm the one that decided to work at this time, at this place, and such and such. Me. Constantly giving ourselves the credit. Hashem says, remember, me. What is it like? A king only has one daughter. And he says to the daughter, I'll give you anything you want. Your husband that you're going to marry one day, I'll give him anything he wants. Okay, one day she grows up, she gets married, and this guy just comes in, and he says, listen, I'll give you guys whatever you want. Oh, really? Sure. We want a house. No problem. Where do you want the house? How big do you want the house? I want the house in this place at this time, $10 million house. No problem. I want a car on Monday, a different car on Tuesday, a different car on Wednesday, and a chopper, and a plane, and a food, and a servants, and this, and that. Anything you want to give you. Okay, what's the condition? Is there a price for this or not? It's free. Nothing's free in life. He says, there's only one small thing that I want, the king says. Only one small thing. Wherever you go, you have this vacation house, you have the other house, you have the car on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You have all these different things that I'm giving you, I'm paying for it. Just make sure to give me a little bit of room. Just one tiny little room. Doesn't have to be a big room. You have a house, 20,000 square feet. Give me a room no bigger than a small bathroom. Something small, tiny. But just give it to me. Don't give it to anyone else. Just a room for me. Sounds logical. Come on, you're not going to give it to him? You just paid for the house. You should take the whole house. You should have the little room. What happens? One day the king shows up. Hello? Hello, I need a place to sleep. I need a place to pray. I need a place to eat. I need a place to rest. Oh, I'm sorry, we're busy. Come back next week. Unfortunately, that's us when we forget about God. He gave us everything. He gave us zivu. He gave us parnasah. He gave us kids. He gave us everything we have. We forget to give him a little room every day. That's why there's a mitzvah in the Torah. Hashem says, I know, I created you. I created you that way because you had to work on this mitzvah in order to fulfill it. You have to constantly, proactively remember me. That's what you have to say it at the end of your tefillah. It's not part of your tefillah. It's at the end. Why? It's an extra effort. It's not part of your tefillah. It's the end. Because the tefillah, which we'll talk about now, is the part you could easily become used to and become robotic. The last mitzvah that you're obligated to remember, Uschirat Yerushalayim tibane v'tikone b'mara b'amenu amen. It says, remember Yerushalayim. Remember that the days of the Mashiach are going to come, and Yerushalayim is going to be rebuilt, and Am Yisrael will be great again. But right before that, he tells you about remember God. Why? The only chance you'll be able to survive to see the last one. The only chance you'll have to see this Yerushalayim is you fill the first 9. Now, it seems very logical for us to remember God, but our tefillah in Alvit and a few other places, when we say Ashkivenu, both on Shabbat as well as during the week, is Ashkivenu prayer. Ashkivenu avinu leshalom va'amidenu malkeinu l'chaim tovim u'leshalom. Lay us down to sleep, our Father, in peace, and raise us up, our King, for good life. Raise us for good life, give us peace, shelter, and so on and so forth. We're asking for all these wonderful things, and then one of the things that we ask for, Shvor ve'aser Satan milfanenu u'me'acherenu. Break and remove the Satan from before us and from behind us. Meaning, Am Yisrael is asking Hashem, do something we can't do. You created this Satan, this Malach HaMavit, this Yetzirah. Gemara says it's all three is the same one. And he has a role. First role is to convince us to do something against you. After he convinces us to go drive on Shabbat, even to the Beit Knesset, after he convinces us to eat non-kosher, even though it looks good, after he convinces us to marry a non-Jew, even though they're very nice people, after he convinces us to do something against you, but he doesn't convince us just by telling, hey, listen, go against God. No one actively goes against God if they have still their sanity in their brain. What does the Satan do? He does something that the Greeks did in Hanukkah. What was so different about the Greeks than any other nation? The Greeks did something extraordinary. And they came to us just like the Satan comes to us. And that is like a friend. He doesn't come to you as an enemy. He doesn't say, hey, Nazi Germany, kill everyone in sight. No. He says, hey, achi, come. Come to my house. We have Kiddush. Yeah, Kiddush, no problem. Kiddush, we'll do Kiddush. What do you want to do? What's the Kiddush about? Oh, Kiddush wine, no problem, have wine. It's kosher wine, we'll make it kosher. I'll bless it for you. I'll bless it for you. I remember in public school, I was a little kid, my non-Jewish friend would tell me, what, you want kosher? I'll bless it for you, don't worry, I'll bless it. What, burger? I'll bless it for you. It was a joke, I didn't know what it meant, but it was funny. Little do I know that that's the Greeks 2,000 years ago. So I'll bless it for you. Whatever you want. They come to you as your friends. They don't come to you as your enemy. That's why Yaakov Avinu said to Hashem, Atzileni na miyad achi miyad Esav. Hashem, save me from my brother, save me from Esav. But he only had one brother. He only had Esav as his brother. What do you mean, save me from my brother? Save me from Esav. Why are you repeating yourself? When he's Esav, it's obvious he's trying to kill me. Physically. When he's Achi, when he's my brother, you can't tell the difference. He looks like a Chabadnik. He looks like a normal Jew. He looks like a regular Hasid. He looks like Tzaddik. I don't know if he's right, wrong. I don't know if he's trying to kill me. I don't know that he really is a Messianic Christian or something like that. Like all of these organizations that are donating to Israel because we love Israel. All these Christian organizations donate hundreds of millions of dollars to Israel. Hundreds of millions. I mean, to America, it's not like much. To America, a small little non-profit organization has 300 million. In Israel, someone donates a few $100 million. It's a big deal. It's a significant percentage of the GDP. So when you have Christian organizations donating hundreds of millions of dollars to Am Yisrael, to the country, even more so, they help you move there. They help Jews move to Eretz Yisrael. Sounds tzaddikim. This is Chazdei Umot HaOlam. This is the righteous among the nations, you would think. There's organizations. They call themselves, oh, we're one for Israel, one for this, one for that, Christians and Jews, all types of things. And some of them even have Orthodox rabbis on the board. On the board of directors, you have Orthodox rabbis. And the Orthodox rabbis are proud of this. They write papers and they write articles. Yeah, I've been part of this organization since its founding 20 years ago, and we facilitated tens of millions of dollars to go to this kibbutz and that kibbutz and this one and that one and da-da-da-da-da. What, all of a sudden Antiochus likes us? What happens? What happened? How? How could this be? You don't need to believe me. You can just check yourself. And you can see that the ultimate mission of every single one of these Christian organizations, without a single exception, they can say whatever they want, but if they're Christians, their job is to missionize. If they're Christians, their job is to make Jews Christians. That's their job. Why? Their Bible says so. You cannot be a Christian without missionizing. You'd be a kofar in Christianity. You'd be a heretic of Christianity if you're not a missionary. You cannot be a Christian without missionizing. They could tell you, no, we love you, we're not missionizing. The Pope loves you, the Jahannam loves you, the Amalek, everyone loves you. Even Hitler, I'll convince them too they love you. Yeah, they'll tell you they love you. That's the Satan. That's Esav. Esav is going to tell you, I'm your brother. And unfortunately, my brothers and sisters, the most upsetting thing about the missionary world that I deal with is that I found out a very disturbing fact that the Jewish world apparently is just not acknowledging, not realizing, not understanding, not accepting, not believing, or maybe just is ignorant of to complete just foolishness. The largest, most successful missionary organizations in the world, the largest and most successful organizations that take Jews from Am Yisrael to Christianity, to the New Testament, to the Goal Nefesh of the world, are Jews. The leaders, the preachers, the speakers, the funders, the ones that you see on TV, the ones that you see on YouTube, the ones that you see that speak and cheer, Jews. Jews. Not Jews like maybe, no, Jews 100%. Mom and Abba, both Jews. But they discovered Jesus. They discovered JCPenney. They discovered Macy's. They discovered all these things. Now they want to ruin Am Yisrael. So you have these organizations that have literally an infinite amount of money. Infinite amount of money. There's no check they can't fill. All they need to get bigger checks to fit the big numbers. And they want to pay whatever you want. You want a house? We'll give you a house. Just say you don't believe in the Torah and believe in this thing. Just leave Judaism. Live. Enjoy. We'll give you money. We'll make you enjoy this life. Go to clubs, go to pubs, go to runway shows, go to this, go to that, be a TV producer, TV manager, whatever you, we'll give you whatever you want. Just don't be a religious Jew. That's it. This is why you see, like Imach Shimam, these two Jews that unfortunately are Christian missionaries, but they call themselves Jews. Jews for Jesus, Jews for this, Jews for that. I think it's one for Israel or one for Gehenom, whatever it is. These two Israeli guys. Now who do they? They have interviews. They have people. They interview them. This guy found Jesus. This guy found JCPenney. This guy's the Mashiach. This for this. All these different garbage things that they say. Now they don't bring you some some guy from China. They said, "Oh, hi, how are you? Yeah, I was in China. I didn't know anything. I thought Buddha was God. Now Jesus is." They don't bring you that guy. They don't bring you Mustafa from the Palestinian people, from Saudi Arabia. Says, "Oh yeah, I thought Muhammad was this, Muhammad was that." No, it's Jesus. They don't bring you that guy. Who do they bring you? Who every single day? You go to their websites if you want to, mamash, ruin your eyes and your mind for at least a week. Interview after interview after interview after interview of Jews. Jews who left the derech. Why? Because to Christianity, to Esav, to Amalek, that's the purpose of life. That's the purpose of life. Ruin Am Yisrael. Ruin Am Yisrael. That's it. That's the only reason they exist. So, the fight against the Greeks only started 2,000 years ago. And anyone thinks that it's finished is living an illusion. We're in worse shape today than we were 2,000 years ago. Because 2,000 years ago, it was easy to identify who was the original Yevani, who was the original Greek. Even though the Jews started wearing clothes like the Yevani, started wearing clothes, started acting, even started idol worshipping like the Greek, it was still identifiable that, hey, that's Yitzchak. Hey, Yitzchak calls himself now, Theodore. But it's Yitzchak. We know Yitzchak. It's easy to identify who's Yitzchak. It was easy to identify who's Yaakov. It was easy to identify who's Moshe. It was easy. It just began. Today, you don't know who's Esav and you don't know who's Yaakov. You don't know who's Jewish and you don't know who's not. You don't know who's on your team. You don't know who's against you. Why? Because we're all worried about ourselves. We're worried about all the things that we're dealing with. We're so busy with our lives. We're so busy competing with the Joneses that we forgot God. And that's why it's an obligation for us to say it every single day at the end of the tefillah of Shachrit. And if you don't have the time or the ability or the memory to remember to do it after Shachrit, just do it at any time. The 10 remembrances can be done at any time during the day. And it helps you fulfill several mitzvot. One of the most important ones is number 9 in it, which is remember God. I know it seems ridiculous. But if it was as ridiculous as it sounds, it wouldn't be a mitzvah. And that's why in Ashkivenu Avinu, when we're asking Hashem to help us, to give us comfort, we're also asking Him to fight the Satan for us. The one behind us and the one in front of us. The one behind us, the Greek that we thought we beat, and the one in front of us that we can't tell the difference of whether he's our brother or he's our rabbi or he's our friend or we don't know who he is. Why? Because we haven't been looking. We haven't been looking. We've been looking elsewhere. We're looking at everything else but that. That's one of the things that this Hanukkah, at the very least, should remind us of. The fight just started. And we're losing people daily. We're not losing like, oh yeah, the guy just went to church, he liked it, and maybe next week he'll come back to synagogue. We're losing. We're losing the fight. All the Kiruv, Baruch Hashem, we're doing every single day. Shtabach Shimo La'ad. Every single day I get letters and emails and text messages of people, Baruch Hashem did tshuva. It's unbelievable how many people doing tshuva. But I still know we're losing. As much as I would love to pat myself on the back, I know we're losing the fight. I had a woman send me a message, I think it was yesterday, and she says, Baruch Hashem, she lives in Washington State. She was a religious Jew in Chabad, and it's a known thing for them to wear wigs. And she says that after I saw what you said, and with the proofs and so on, I decided to take off the wig and do tshuva, because I realized this is a serious problem, because I knew for sure that I could not confirm the source of my wig, which means that it comes from Avodah Zarah, it comes from India, it comes from idol worship over there. Now this was a very difficult thing for me, but I knew that there was just too much evidence that I couldn't deny. There was one other hurdle. My husband, he didn't like it. But after I showed him the videos, he did tshuva. He said it's a good idea. But there was another hurdle. The community. Were you going against the Rabbi? Lubavitcher Rabbi? How are you going to go? He said it's allowed. But then I showed them I showed them the evidence. I showed the women of the community the evidence. And now they're starting to do tshuva. Shtabach Shemo La'ad, you have a community in the middle of nowhere somewhere, in Chabad, the place the most difficult for people like me to reach. Do tshuva. Why? Because the evidence is indisputable for anyone looking for it. There was a new thing that came out just in the last week. A woman said that she's been having dreams about the Lubavitcher Rebbe. Now, obviously, we don't make halacha based on dreams, but nonetheless, this is very interesting. She says the Lubavitcher Rebbe, for some reason or another, is connected to her in some way or some shape or form, and he keeps coming back to her in a dream, more than once. He says, they keep embarrassing me in Shamayim. Please spread the message to tell him I never allowed wigs. Whoever says it is a liar. Why would a woman make this up? She wore a wig herself. Why, she just decided, oh, I'm going to make something up. You just come out of the blue and make things up. One time, the king came to Rabbi Yonatan Allah Shalom. He says, listen, I want you to have another debate with the komil, with the priest, or the head of the priest or Christianity. I want you to have another debate. They enjoyed having debates. Now, Rabbi Yonatan was a giant chacham, Kodesh Kodashim. Problem is, he tried running away from debates. Why? Having debates with the Christians is a waste of time. Either way, you lose. Why? If you lose the debate, it's Chilul Hashem. Jews may fall off, Shem Yachem, it's terrible. If you win, which is very easy to win because the proofs are in front of you, you have the Torah. Anyone knows a little Torah wins the debate. Problem is they kill you. And they kill Am Yisrael. Why? They don't want to lose. That's why the Ramban, when he had the famous debate almost 900 years ago, he refused to have the debate in the beginning until the king made it a law that no one's allowed to touch him. But even after that, even after the famous debate that he destroyed Christianity, it's a very famous debate, it's documented in a book and so on and so forth. They made a movie about it also. The book is better. He documented all of this. Destroyed Christianity, went to pieces. Anyone that debates today, Christianity versus Judaism, just uses the sources of the Ramban, you win. There's no way they can fight it. It's impossible. It's questions they can never answer. 1,000 years more, they still can't answer it. So you look at this, he made a law, but the king said to him, he says, listen, Kvod Harav, I respect you. I respect you, I agree with you, everything. I promised you, I'm not going to touch you. I'm keeping my promise. Problem is, even though I'm king, I still can't tell you what everyone else is going to do. Because right now you just destroyed their lives. You just told them everything they believe is a lie. And you proved it in front of thousands. What are they going to do? They're going to say, oh, no, we're not going to do tshuva. You out of your mind. So Rabbi Yonatan was faced with a dilemma, but he was forced to do it. And the king told him, listen, I only have one question in this debate. How could it be that the Jews are right? How could it be that the Jews are right? Just pure numbers, logic, beats you. You look at the number of Jews, few million. You look at the number of Christians, hundreds and hundreds of million. Today it's almost 2 billion, 2.5 billion, whatever it is. It's a little less back then, a couple of hundred years ago. But nonetheless, it's a huge number. We're not even a estimate, a rounding error in comparison to them. When you estimate the amount of people in the world, let's say, for example, it's almost 8 billion. Now, almost 8 billion doesn't literally mean 8 billion. It could potentially be 7.96 billion, which means that 40 million is a rounding error. We don't even have the rounding error as Am Yisrael. We don't even have that. We don't even have a rounding error. We're not even a rounding error. So he's telling them, look, what you have. That's just pure numbers. You're telling me all 2 billion people are stupid? All 2 billion people don't know what they're talking about? You're right. It's a few million of you. Because even out of the 20 million, only 3 million obey the law. So you 3 million are smart, you go to Gan Eden, and everybody else goes to Gan Eden. That's it. Only you're smart, only you're good. Come on. Usually it's the opposite. Majority wins. So Rabbi Yonatan says to him, no problem. It's a good question. It's a good question. Before I answer the question, I want you and the Komil, you and this Pope, to come outside. Let's see if maybe we get answer from Shamayim. We get an answer from Shamayim. Holy man, holy people, king. No one's thinking, I'm not good enough to get an answer from Shamayim. The little rabbi with the tzitzit hanging out, he says he can get answers from Shamayim. What, the Pope is not going to get an answer from Shamayim? What, the king is not the answer from Shamayim? Of course, yeah, we get answers from Shamayim all the time. Sure, let's go. Now, right now. So they go outside. Rabbi Yonatan looks at this guy. Wow! Look at that! Wow! You see it, you see it. Yeah. You see the gates of heaven opening. You see it. Yeah, it's there. Wow. Look, Malachei Sharet. Your Highness, Malachei Sharet. He starts crying. He says, Malachei Sharet. He's coming to see. He's going to give us the answer. He starts dancing, and then he starts, look, wow, the Merkava, Hashem's chariot, it's coming. The Pope is like, yeah, wow. And they start dancing. And everyone starts dancing. Everyone's dancing. Wow, Ishtabach Shimon Ahad. Everyone's like, wow. And he starts describing them. And look at the lightning. And look at this. And look at that. And everyone says, yeah, of course. You see it, Your Highness? I see it. The Pope, you see it? You see it? Of course. Well, I'm not going to see it. Everyone sees it. And then Rabbi says to them, Mr. Pope, tell me the truth. Do you see anything? Truth. Tachlis. Amet. Between you and me. You see anything at all? 45 minutes. Not like 5 seconds like I did for you guys. He's dancing for 45 minutes show. 45 minutes show he's dancing to them. After 45 minutes, whoa! You see anything? Bemet. You see anything? I just said, wow. You see anything or not? He says, Bemet? Really? No, I don't see anything. He said, Your Highness, do you see anything? Bemet. Seriously, between us. No, I don't see anything. It was me too. Me too. I don't see anything. But did you notice how just 5 minutes ago, both of you saw it, but you really didn't? That's Christianity. That's the lie. You're telling me 2 billion people believe something? 2 billion people say they saw Jesus, Jesus, all this garbage? Just because somebody said it. And they feel bad being left out. And I prepared something very special for you guys. There was an auction. Recently selling some paintings. And I want to get your opinion on this because I'm thinking of getting a replica and putting it in my house. And I can't afford $50 million, obviously, but I want your opinion on this because it has something to do with the shiur. Now, there's a famous painter, and his painting was sold recently for $46 million. $46 million for painting. Now, I know a little bit about art. In high school, I took advanced placement classes, meaning college courses for art history. My final exam was about I had to write in hieroglyphics, Egyptian writing. I had to write in hieroglyphics. I mean, seriously, I don't remember it, but I did it 20-something years ago. So I know a little bit about art. Hieroglyphics was a form of art, and a lot of other expressionists. This. But anyway, taste is different people's taste. You never know. So there's some famous, expensive paintings, and I want you to tell me your opinion of these, and which one do you think is the most valuable? Okay? Fair enough? Same price for all of you. Okay, so the first one is this one. This one? Anyone? Like it? Raise your hand if you like it. If you think it's worth 40 million? 45? 30? 25? 20? Nothing? Okay, I don't know if you guys know anything about art. Fine. All right, next one. This one. Anyone? 30 million? 20 million? 50? No? I don't know. I'm second guessing myself showing you guys this art. Oh, this is the same copy. Fine. Okay, this one. 20? 25? It's $46 million in an auction, I'm telling you. Anyone? No? No yet? You guys should have taken the class. Anyone on the internet, help me out here? Anyone? Nothing yet? No buyers? Oh, this is the same one. Copy. Here's one. Anyone? 46 million? 50 million? 20 million? 5 million? $5? Anything? Nothing? Zero? Okay. Oh, almost forgot. This one? This one? 40, 50, 60, 70? Nothing? Zero? Nothing? Okay, so now here's the good news. You guys have decent taste. And the reason why is because you have common sense. None of these are indicating anything. Because these are all the drawings of my daughter that's 2 years old. The sad part is that the ones that are in this pile that you also saw and didn't like, like this one, the problem is it was sold at Sotheby's for $46 million. Now, personally, I like this one the best. So we're trying to raise $250,000 for the Bezrat Hashem. Anyone wants this? I can give you the original copy. This is just a copy. Sarah is willing to sell you the original. But this was sold for $46 million. $46 million was actually of people actually worked for this money. Someone had to work for the $46 million. Maybe not the guy that spent it, but someone spent $46 million on this monstrosity. And someone is going to probably spend much more money on this. This is a chalkboard. And the same artist who just died a few years ago just drew circles on a chalkboard. This is what this is. And this is just on a Scantron sheet. And it's also worth tens of millions of dollars. My daughter's 2.5-year-old drawing is a 50 million times better than this. But this is worth $50, $60 million. Why? Because people are stupid. Because people saw a bunch of other people say, yeah, it's worth 50 million, it's worth 70 million, it's worth 100 million, it's worth this, it's worth that. So therefore some idiot says, oh, yeah, you're right, it's $70 million. I have the check here. Will I make it payable too? That's the foolishness of today. That's the foolishness of the Greeks. That's the poison. But that only happens when you forget God. Because if you remember God, if you remember Him, this can't happen. You don't distinguish between the two. You can call it art, you can call it drawings, you can call it whatever you want. But everyone knows the value that's being put on it is pure nonsense. It's only because somebody said it's worth something, and that's it. It's not because it's worth anything. So, every day, we have to deal with this battle. Every single day, we have to fight this Greek. Because sometimes the Greek is inside us. Sometimes the Greek is outside. Sometimes the Greek is our friend. Sometimes he's our neighbor. Sometimes he's our spouse. The Greek is the one that wants us to cut loose, cut short, shortcuts. Believe something just because you should, not necessarily because it makes sense. And this is the reason why in today's world, some of the most difficult people for me to deal with personally, as far as to help them do tshuva, are people that are already religious. If you give me someone that doesn't believe in anything, complete golem, nothing, putty, Baruch Hashem, it's easy. You just fill him with information, the truth, and you have yourself someone that's extraordinarily righteous, willing to die for Hashem a day later. No problem. You give me somebody that's mistaken, either in Christianity or anywhere else, no problem. You show them the truth, they're willing to die for Hashem a day later. No problem. But sometimes, you take a religious person and you tell them, listen, you need to do tshuva. And they look at you like you have 3 heads. What do you mean I have to do tshuva? I already wear a kippah. So what if it's small? So what if it's not like yours? Doesn't make me less religious. You're right, it doesn't make you less religious. Kippah doesn't make you more or less religious. In fact, it's a rabbinical mitzvah. Reuven said that if you don't wear one, technically it's not a sin. But everyone wears it. Why? It's a sign of Yirat Shamayim. It's a sign that not only do you remember God, but you're afraid of Him. And usually the size indicates how much. The Rambam was very afraid. His kippah covered his entire head. One of the heads of Hasidut, just last 50, 60 years, prayed to Hashem that he wanted to have the Yirat Shamayim of the Rambam when he is performing his job as a doctor for the Goyim. Not when he's performing his job as a doctor for the Jews, because Chas v'shalom, he kills a Jew. Of course, he probably has a lot of Yirat Shamayim, a lot of fear, because he's killing another neshama, a future, a destiny, and so on. Fine. When he's a doctor for the Goyim, for the Egyptians. So he said, I want to have the Yirat Shamayim he has at that moment. And he prayed to Hashem for this Yirat Shamayim just for one day. And he tells his students 2 days later, when they ask him, Kvod Harav, why didn't you come to the Bet Midrash? All the years you're known to be a matmid, you never miss, sick, don't sick. There's no such thing as missing Bet Midrash. And he says to them, my dear students, Hashem answered my prayer. And He gave me the Yirat Shamayim that the Rambam had when he's a doctor for the Goyim. Just for one day. But that level of Yirat Shamayim was so petrifying that I was too scared to leave the bed. I was too scared to leave the bed. So your kippah indicates that. It could be any color, but it indicates it. Your clothing, of course, there's certain leniencies for men that are not allowed for women, but nonetheless also indicate your Yirat Shamayim. Why? If you truly believe that God is here and He's watching, you dress a certain way. If you don't, or you just think He only appears sometimes, you don't. Doesn't necessarily make you less of a believer ultimately in the Creator or not, but nonetheless it does distinguish between Yirat Shamayim and not. But there are certain things that people like to create. So for example, there's this young guy that heard the shiur I did on Sunday in Hollywood, and he got offended. Now, I don't necessarily react to every time somebody gets offended by what I say, but nonetheless I tried, talking to him. And he says he was offended because he understood that I was saying that anyone that has a colorful kippah is not religious, and that technically if a man shakes a woman's hand, it should be fine, and if they hug, it's fine because you don't want to humiliate her. So if a woman wants to hug you or kiss you, and that's the norm, then you should be allowed to, because it's less of a sin to hug or kiss than it is to embarrass someone. Because the Torah says, if you embarrass someone, we learned from Tamar, Yudah and Tamar in last week's parasha, Tamar decided that it's better for her to jump into the fire than to embarrass Yudah. It's better to die than to embarrass someone. Why? Because when you embarrass someone, the Gemara says it's like you killed him. So if a woman is expecting you to hug her and kiss her, because that's the custom, then you should be able to. Makes sense. Only in a warped brain. It only makes sense in the warped brain. Because one of the major isurim in the Torah that's not a forgivable sin so easily, that has the level of areg ve'al ya'avor, die and not sin, is arayot, is a sex crime. Meaning, if a woman that's not your wife comes to you and wants to be intimate with you, or someone forces you to be with her, or she's not Jewish, or she is your wife but she's nida, it's better that you die and not sin. To that extent. It's the same thing as idol worship, it's the same thing as murder. But it doesn't end there. It doesn't end there. It doesn't end there at all. That's just the literal, simple part. The Chachamim also include other sex crimes in there. To such an extent that the Gedolei Ador, the giants of giants, say that it's better for one to die than to go to a public school where there's girls and boys. It's better for one to die than to go to a mixed beach. Not go and be with them. Just attend. One of the Chachamim in the Gemara, one time, had a test. This is a man that never sinned, never looked at an inappropriate woman. He was already old. And one day, he was given the test. What test? Satan came to him and pretended to be the most beautiful woman in the world. And the reason why is because he thought that he was at a level where he's not going to have any more tests. He's not going to have any more tests. Not in regards to sex crimes. Why? He's old. So he said, don't trust yourself until you die. That's what the Chachamim say. He said, don't trust yourself until you get old. He changed it a little bit. Tzaddik. Changed it. Satan comes as the most beautiful woman in the world. You have a problem. Why? Because you nearly fell. Another Chacham was actually a Gilgul of someone that married Michal, I forgot his name, that married Michal after, that was the daughter of Shaul. But after she married David HaMelech first. And Shaul said, no, David HaMelech is his name starts with a P, I just forget it all the time. And it says, no. Shaul says, listen, David is a Rodef. He's trying to kill me. He's going against the kingdom. His marriage with my daughter is not valid. Go marry my daughter. And this guy was a tzaddik. And he knew, doesn't matter what Shaul is saying, even though he's the king, it's not right. But Michal is beautiful. Michal is beautiful. So he puts a sword in the middle of the bed. He says, if I touch you, I'll die by the sword. And he stays married to her for some time without touching her. Sefer HaGilgulim says that he reincarnated. He reincarnated many years later in the days of the Gemara as one of the Chachamim that was given a test by the Satan, pretended to be the most beautiful woman in the world, and he asked one of his students to bring him the shipudim, the things that you make on a barbecue, and he poked out his own eyes. He burnt his own eyes. To such an extent that the Satan fell over. Satan fell. Why did he fall? He says, this is not normal. The person just poked his own eyes out. Hashem was so impressed with him that he sent the Malach Raphael to go heal him. And Raphael comes to him and says, Kvod Harav, I'm here to heal you. You passed the test. He says, thank you, but no thank you. Because I don't know if I'll pass the test next time. I don't know if I'll pass the next time. So Raphael goes back to Hashem. He says, Hashem, Kvod Harav doesn't want me to heal him. What kind of guy is this? What's going on with him? He says, tell him, I promise him, I'm signing him on my name, I'm not going to test him anymore. He comes back down, he tells him, Hashem says he's not going to test you anymore. He says, okay, now you can heal me. Now you can heal me. What do we learn from all this? What do we learn from Tamar? What do we learn from the tzaddikim? That the Arek V'al Yavor is not just to commit the crime physically. The Arek V'al Yavor is also to see. So when someone says, yes, there's a leniency to shake the opposite sex hands, there's a leniency to shake her hand. Yes, you're right, there is a leniency to shake the opposite sex's hand if you have to, in business or something like that, for peace. But you're never ever going to see any of the tzaddikim ever use that leniency. You're never going to see Rabbi Ovadia in any of the pictures, in any of the stories, in any of his days of his life ever shaking the hand of the opposite sex. You're never going to see the Lubavitcher Rebbe ever shaking anyone's hands. Never. Why? Yes, there's a leniency. But just because there's a leniency doesn't mean we use it. And we'll finalize with this. One day, David HaMelech decided that he's getting so many tikkunim, so many kaparat avonot, so many difficulties and tests and tribulations in his life, that he says, you know what? People are starting to look at me, and I see my son is trying to kill me. Avshalom is trying to kill him. Sick, this, that, all these different things are happening in his life. He goes, you know what? It's starting to look bad for everyone else. They think, oh, look, this guy did tshuva, this guy's tzaddik, this guy's kadosh, and everything else, and look at all the difficulties he has. It's becoming chilul Hashem. It's becoming desecration of Hashem's name. You know what? I'm going to go idol worship. Not really idol worship, but I'm going to go into a church. I'm going to go into a church and leave. So people will see, oh, look, see, David HaMelech really is an undercover sinner. That's why Hashem is punishing him. So at least there's not going to be a desecration of Hashem's name. So they're going to think it's my fault, not Hashem's fault. So his rabbi sees him. He goes, oh, David, where are you going? He goes, oh, I'm going to do. He tells him the whole story. He goes, no. You don't have to do all that. You don't have to do all that. I can tell you why you're getting all the kaparat avonot. I can tell you why your son is trying to kill you. I can tell you why there's a sickness. I can tell you why there's losses. I can tell you all the reasons for all your problems. What's the reason? It says that the sages, to be a Talmid Chacham, is more significant than to be a prophet. Gemara Masechet Baba Metzia. It's more significant to be a Talmid Chacham, knows Torah, than to be a prophet. So Talmid Chacham tells David HaMelech, I can tell you the reason for all your problems. Why your son's trying to kill you, why there's sickness, why there's losses, why there's headaches, why there's stress, why. I can tell you. Why? It says, you married a woman that you shouldn't have married. What do you mean I married a woman? All the women I married are fine, I'm allowed according to the Torah. He goes, yes. According to the Torah, you're allowed. But one of them, you married after a battle. Right? Yes. Allowed. In the Torah it says, if there's a woman that's after the battle, the enemy has one of the women that's there, you convert her, and after it goes through a process, you can marry her. No problem. So I follow the Torah. Rabbi says, yes, you follow the Torah. But just because it's allowed doesn't mean you should do it. Because the very next verse, after it says that you're allowed to marry a woman that's in the opposite army at the end of the battle, it says that a ben sorer umoreh, a wayward son, will come out from this. Avshalom. Why is it? If it's allowed, why is a bad son going to come from it? Why is a bad daughter going to come from it? Why? If it's allowed. Because there are certain mitzvot in the Torah that the only reason Hashem allowed them is just to quiet the Satan, to quiet the Yetzer Hara, to quiet the Greek, to quiet the Amalek, to quiet Esav. Not because you're really allowed to do it. But if he didn't allow it, you would do it anyway. And then it would be a sin. He said at the end of a battle, all the soldiers have so much adrenaline. If we tell them, listen, you can't go with this woman. She's not Jewish. She's not good for you. She's not this. She's not that. There's so much adrenaline. They just killed people. They just fought. They went through the war. You tell them they're not allowed to do something, they're going to kill you. So you tell them, listen, yes, you're allowed. Just wait 30 days. You're allowed to be with her. Just wait 30 days. If you tell the guy, wait 30 days, and he knows, okay, you know what, I'm going to have it, already he's calm. Already his Yetzirah is calm. At the end of 30 days, he already had enough time to let his Yetzirah calm down. Maybe he's not going to do it. And even if he does, it's at least after some thought. But he still shouldn't do it. Why? Did Hashem allow it? Because he knew that if he just told you don't do it, with no exit, you do it anyway. Says David, as holy as you are, you follow the Torah literally here. You follow the Torah and you said you did it. Just because it's allowed, you shouldn't do it. Just because you're allowed to shake the hand of an opposite sex doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you're allowed as a guy to wear a tank top doesn't mean you should do it. Just because you're allowed to just study whenever you want doesn't mean you should do it. You should study all the time. Just because there's certain things you're allowed to do doesn't mean you should do it. That's where Yirat Shamayim comes in. The Greek is constantly telling us that, hey, I'm your friend, I'm your brother. This is allowed. According to Halakha, it's allowed. According to Halakha, it's allowed to do this, allowed to do this. They're constantly looking for leniencies. This is allowed, this is allowed, this is allowed. But that's why it's also sometimes the most difficult to help those people do tshuva. Because they're already religious, but they're religious in the wrong direction. So, Hanukkah is here to remind us that the most important thing you can take from this holiday, the most important thing you can take not just from this holiday for today, not just for the 8 days, not just for this year, but for the rest of your life, is that you have to fight the Greek. The Greek could be outside, the Greek could be inside. That illusion that he's selling you, that's telling you that this painting is $46 million, is the same thing that's making you forget God. It's no different. All of you were convinced that all of them were very expensive paintings. You just didn't see the value. You just thought you had, whatever. You don't know anything about art. None of you actually thought for a second that this is my daughter's painting. If I told you it's $46 million, you're taking my word for it. They told you 2.5 billion people are Christians because they believe in J.C. Penney. You're gonna take their word for it? No, you have to double check. Double check everything. Double check everything. Because just because someone says it's okay doesn't mean it's okay.